Welcome to the Report Connection with Tommy. This video is on your Night of Champions pay-per-view and going straight to the results. Alright. From Detroit, Michigan at the Joe Louis Arena, the pre-show, fans were shown entering the arena as Josh Matthews introduced the pre-show and the panel with Booker T, Alex Riley, and Santino Marella. Announcers previewed the tag team turmoil match. Riley predicted a title change. Santino told the world that the Usos are twin brothers. Funny Renee Young checked in on from social media room and hyped a poll for favorite tag team champion. Backstage, Paul Heyman was seated on a crate looking concerned when Brad Maddox walked into the picture and asked if everything is okay. Heyman expressed his concern and blamed Maddox for putting a middle-aged father of two in the ring against Punk. Heyman threatened to get himself disqualified and then have Punk sued for felonious assault if he touched him after the bell. Maddox then responded by making it a no disqualification match. Okay, so Heyman could still get himself intentionally counted out. But you have to like the way they have stacked the deck against Heyman to convince viewers that Punk will get his hands on him. He's become a real selling point of the pay-per-view so far, but there is no count out and no disqualification match. The announcers discussed the World Heavyweight Championship match and the role Ricardo Rodriguez can play in helping RVD because he knows Alberto Del Rio so well. Yeah, really. And the match of the pre-show, Primetime Players versus Usos versus Real Americans with Zeb Coulter versus Tons of Funk versus Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre with Jinder Mahal in a tag team turmoil match for a shot at the WWE Tag Team Championship. Cameron and Naomi did not accompany the players to the ringside. The Tons of Funk, that is. McIntyre flipped over the top rope and onto Tensai at ringside. McIntyre landed awkwardly and was slow to get up. But he eventually did and seemed fine. Tensai rolled up McIntyre a short time later for the win. Tons of Funk eliminated 3MB at 1 minute 35 seconds. Real Americans were out next and put the boots to Tensai. Clay now has dinosaur spikes on the back of his gear. Jack Swagger forced Brodus Clay to tap to the ankle lock. Real Americans were eliminated. Real Americans eliminated Tons of Funk at 5 minutes 45 seconds. The Uso brothers were out next to face the Real Americans, and Swagger caught one of the Usos coming off the top rope and applied the ankle lock for the submission win immediately. Real Americans eliminated the Usos in 9 minutes 20 seconds. Primetime Players were the final entrants. Swagger caught Darren Young with the ankle lock quickly, but Young rolled out of it and flipped Swagger into the corner. Swagger's momentum caused him to bounce out of the corner and into Young, who performed his finisher and got the win for his team. Primetime Players won in 11 minutes 10 seconds. Rapid Fire Tag Team Turmoil match. The Real Americans came out of it looking better than anyone. I was surprised to see Swagger get so much love. The panel discussed Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan, main event, and Santino picked Orton to win. Booker picked Bryan, and Riley selected Orton. Matthews closed out the pre-show. The Night of Champions pay-per-view opened up with a video package that featured cool black and white photos of the past champions while the narrator spoke about what it means to be a champion. Every year it seems like I have to point out that it's a shame that they don't try to create the vibe for the pay-per-view before it actually begins. They do a good job with the theme once the show starts, but not so much during the build-up to the pay-per-view itself. Pyro goes off on the stage, and Michael Cole checks in on commentary with Jerry King Lawler and JBL. Coleslaw said it was a night to celebrate those who were the best. Jesse Roberts introduced the COO, Triple H, who received a lot of boos and maybe some groans too. Hunter didn't even get the nuclear heat that he should have, considering how much he's been spotlighted on TV lately. Triple H then welcomed the fans to the Night of Champions, which drew some cheers from the fans. He said that he believes that the fans want what he wants out of the main event. He said to show that he's not a villainous as he is portrayed, there will be no interference in the main event. He specified that there would be no interference from Big Show or The Shield or anyone else. There's another thing that they should have announced on television rather than during the actual pay-per-view. Triple H then gave the fans, "Are you ready, lad?" Paul Heyman interrupted him and walked into the ring with Curtis Axel. He said he's been trying to reach Hunter all week. Heyman said that he didn't want to do this public, but he has a serious problem with what Hunter feels is best for business. Hunter then told Heyman that he looks terrible and questioned when the last time he slept or showered. Heyman got worked up, but quickly calmed down and apologized for raising his voice to a man in your position. Heyman continued to kiss Hunter's ass before saying he feels he made one serious error in judgment by putting him in the ring with Punk. The fans chanted Punk's name. Heyman said Punk doesn't want to wrestle him. He wants to hurt him to the point that he will never be seen in WWE again. Heyman begged Hunter to cancel the handicap elimination match. Hunter said Heyman made some good points, and then asked him if he has anything to do with the fact that his match was made a no DQ match. Yes, Heyman replied. Hilarious. Hunter said Heyman has no reason to be afraid because he doesn't have to tag in if he doesn't want to. He said that if Heyman believes in Curtis Axel, then there shouldn't be a problem. You do believe in Curtis Axel, don't you? Heyman never had to answer that. Hunter said that the match is staying and there is no more honor against thieves. Heyman asked. Axel took the mic and asked Hunter if he thinks it's funny. "What's wrong with you?" Axel said. He said he became a Paul Heyman guy on May 20th and beat Hunter in a handicap match. Beat Hunter in a match that night on Raw. Wow, you actually even remember that date? Hunter replied. Hunter then told Axel not to poke the bear. He recalled that it's Night of Champions and all champions are supposed to be defended. Hunter said Axel is going to defend the Intercontinental title against the first person he faces when he walks backstage. He told Axel not to go anywhere because the match was up next. As Hunter headed backstage, Heyman stated that the match would be fought under protest. Okay, Heyman then questioned Axel off mic regarding what he said to Hunter. First match, Curtis Axel with Paul Heyman versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental title. Axel threw a good drop kick at Kingston, who came back a short time later with a dive off the top rope and onto the Axel on the floor. Axel cut off Kofi's offense by tripping him up on the top rope. Kingston went on an offensive flurry as they topped the 10-minute mark. He went for the Trouble in Paradise kick, but Axel ducked and it threw a series of shoulder blocks into Kingston. Kofi went for a springboard move, but Axel caught him on the way down with a good drop kick for a good near fall. Heyman cringed, and as the announcers noted that the longer the match goes, the worse it is for Heyman. Kofi went for the SOS, but Axel shoved him away. Kofi went for the Trouble in Paradise, but Axel avoided it. Kofi caught him with the SOS and covered him. The production team blew another one by missing it as Axel kicked out of what seemed like a good near fall. At 13 minutes, 30 seconds in, Kofi ended up on Axel's shoulder. Axel dropped him on the top rope and finished him off with apparently an unnamed inverted neckbreaker finisher. Curtis Axel won in 13 minutes 55 seconds to retain the IC title. A good impromptu match that will keep everyone who wanted to see all the title match gimmick happy. I can't complain too much about them not advertising this one in advance because I don't think it would have sold very many extra pay-per-views. even though Kingston is popular with the kids. Chris Jericho won the poll for the greatest Intercontinental Champion with 63% of the vote over Honky Tonk Man, Pat Patterson, Kurt Hennig, and Rick Rude. Backstage segment was Rob Van Dam speaking with Ricardo Rodriguez, who had his arm in a sling. RVD had Ricardo translate things in Spanish for him. He concluded with World Heavyweight Champion, and Ricardo told him it's simply RVD. In another part of the backstage area, AJ Lee skipped up to Alicia Fox, Oksana, and Layla. Alicia and Oksana told her that they are done being in her army and walked away. Layla said that she was going to talk to the other two and then ran off herself, leaving AJ hanging as she tried to tell her the match was next. The announcer spoke at ringside and mentioned the Sheik. Since they were in Detroit, they set up a poll for the best Divas champion that featured Moolah, Wendy Richter, Trish Stratus, Lita, and Michelle McCool. Trish Stratus won with 56% of the vote, while Lita brought in 29%. I guess they didn't want to include the knockout Mickie James over Undertaker's wife. The announcers recap the recent Divas events from Raw. Match number 2, AJ Lee versus Natalya versus Naomi versus Brie Bella in a fatal 4-way Divas Championship match. Brie wore a rainbow-themed outfit that apparently the fans voted for when Lee tried to flee, but the other three caught up to her and took turns beating her into the guardrail. They took her back inside the ring only to have Brie toss her to the floor and then clothesline the other two. Naomi went for a crossbody block off the top rope and onto Natalya, but overshot. It was hard to tell whether it was intentional or not. After a bunch of chaos, Natalya managed to put the sharpshooter on Naomi and Brie simultaneously. But AJ broke it up with a kick to the back of the head, and AJ applied the Black Widow on Natalya, who tapped out. And the match only took 5 minutes 35 seconds in a basic Divas match. Hard work for the ladies, and while there were some clumsy moments, it wasn't as bad as a 4-way Divas match seemed on paper. O'Reilly's Auto Parts aired. The broadcast team threw it up to the panel for more discussion on the World Heavyweight Championship match. Yes, there was a O'Reilly's contest going on for the month of until the month of October started. And you can go get your free. Could have gone and got your free tickets for your WWE Media Champion. Scratch off for a future pay-per-view. And back at ringside, Lawler mocked the panel. Match number 3, Alberto Del Rio versus Rob Van Dam with Ricardo for the World Heavyweight Championship. RVD's music played for his intro, and they skipped the awful peripheral ring announcement routine. Good call. They saved the introduction for In the Ring, which was quicker and fine. RVD went for Rolling Thunder, but Del Rio rolled out of the way before a splash. Del Rio caught him with a backstabber for a 2 count. 8 minutes 40 seconds in, Del Rio went for the reverse superplex, but RVD elbowed out of it and followed up with a somersault off the top. Del Rio came right back with a backbreaker at 10 minutes 35 seconds in. RVD caught Del Rio with a split-legged moonsault for a 2 count. Crowd was pretty flat during the match, but Ricardo was able to get a minor RVD chant started. Del Rio silenced the fans with an armbreaker and then a super kick onto a kneeling RVD, which led only to a 2 count. RVD then came back and went for the 5-star frog splash, but Del Rio put his knees up. Del Rio immediately applied the cross armbreaker. A loud RVD chant started as Van Dam tried to reach for the ropes and eventually got there, which drew a nice reaction from the crowd. Del Rio didn't release the hold before the referee's 5 count, so he was disqualified. After the match, Del Rio worked over RVD and won. They wound up for a chair shot, but Ricardo snuck in and stopped him. RVD rolled up Del Rio and then performed a Van Terminator with Ricardo holding the chair for the win. The chair for him. So the match took 13 minutes 25 seconds. for RVD to win by disqualification. A weak finish helped explain why the match was slotted so early on the card. I expected them to find a way to stretch the program out for at least another pay-per-view, but probably for Hell in a Cell. But I expected a more creative finish. The Van Terminator is always impressive, and they played it up by having trainers tend to Del Rio afterwards. Unfortunately, the production team felt the need to show the replay from an angle that showed Del Rio bracing for the move with his arms up behind the chair before RVD even jumped. Backstage, Paul Heyman told Curtis Axel that he won't be around to help him if he's left in the ring with Punk. Heyman said Axel made an enemy in Triple H, but he can fix that if he's around. I won't be here if I'm left alone with CM Punk. Heyman stressed again as Axel asked Heyman if he believes in him. Heyman said he believes in him since they won. And tonight I need you to believe in yourself, Heyman concluded. The broadcast team then set up the results of the best World Heavyweight Champion poll. Booker T beat out Ric Flair, Undertaker, Edge, and Batista. I don't even know what to say about that. Backstage, Triple H explained to Randy Orton why he opted for no interference during his match. Hunter said that he wants to make sure that the right choice when he picked him to be the face of WWE. You did, Orton replied. Match before, The Miz versus Fandango with Summer Rae. After nearly 8 minutes of very forgettable action, Miz applied the move that the guy who got Jim Ross fired, retired, taught him, and got the win. Lawler said Fandango tapped quickly because he didn't want anything bad happening to his leg. The Miz defeated Fandango in 7 minutes 50 seconds. Not sure why that match even happened, as I barely remember it even though it just happened. Here's hoping this is the end to the program and they move Fandango into something better. A WWE and Armed Forces commercial aired and Lillian Garcia thanked the National Guard as military members were shown in the crowd. A USA chant broke out. Lawler said hello to his girlfriend's brother who was stationed in Saudi Arabia. A video then recapped the Paul Heyman and CM Punk feud. Match number 5, Punk versus Axel, with Paul Heyman with Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman in the no DQ handicap elimination match. Punk brought a kendo stick out with him and yelled, "Time to die." As he walked to the ring, Axel Rose would have been proud. The match started with Axel and Punk each with kendo sticks in hand. Punk got the early advantage and struck Axel repeatedly with kendo stick shots. Punk took his shirt off and women squealed and groaned as men begged him to throw it his way. Very sad. Punk performed a suicide dive onto Heyman on the floor at 1 minute in, put on JBL's hat for a second, then threw Heyman back inside the ring. Punk gave the thumbs down sign. He picked up the kendo stick, and Heyman begged him for mercy and told him that he loved him. Axel saved Heyman with a low blow, and then Heyman fled to ringside. Punk started to regain control of the match and wound up for a chair shot, but Axel caught him with another good drop kick, and the crowd chanted for tables. Heyman showbox at the ringside. Shadow box at ringside. Axel obliged the tables chance by pulling one out from underneath the ring and sliding it inside. Axel set up the table in the corner and went for the suplex, but Punk avoided it and went for one of his own, but Axel suplexed him away from the table. 8 minutes in the match now. Punk goes up for the elbow drop, but Axel rolled to the floor. Punk went for a suicide dive, but Axel greeted him with a chair. The crowd died as Axel threw punches on the fallen Punk, but Heyman jumped in and yelled, "You are better than CM Punk." Axel tagged Punk with several kendo stick shots. Punk got the kendo stick and caught Axel, then dropped him with a GTS. Punk applied the GTS and Axel tapped. CM Punk eliminated Curtis Axel in 10 minutes 30 seconds. Heyman's eyes bulged as Punk looked at him. Punk briefly chased Heyman out around and eventually got him inside the ring. Heyman pleaded for mercy and hugged Punk, who smiled and pushed him away, then jabbed him with a stick and slammed it over his back repeatedly. "Oh God, that hurt," Heyman said. The crowd chanted for tables. Punk signaled for his anaconda device. However, Punk reached inside his boot and pulled out a pair of handcuffs, which he used to handcuff Heyman's arms behind his back. "I'm tapping," Heyman said. The crowd chanted, "This is awesome." Punk slammed the kendo stick onto Heyman's chest and abdomen repeatedly. It looked like Heyman had some extra padding there again. "I broke your heart," Punk said. "I'm going to break your face now." Ryback suddenly entered the ring and speared Punk through the table. The Goldberg chant started. Ryback placed Heyman on top of Punk, and the ref made the 3 count. Ryback hoisted up Heyman on his shoulder and carried him backstage. Punk blew off the referees and the trainer who tried to tend to him, and the crowd chanted his name for a moment. And Paul Heyman and Curtis Axel defeated CM Punk in the handicap elimination match, 15 minutes 45 seconds. Ryback basically picked up Punk in spear position and drove him through the table. It looked really badass, and they replayed it several times. Punk suffered a cut and some scrapes on his back, but nothing too severe. The live crowd was more than satisfied with the beating that Heyman took. It's cool to see Ryback paired with Heyman. Lord knows he needs someone to talk for him, and Punk needs a new Paul Heyman guy to feud with. Then an ad aired for WWE Battleground, and the panel spoke briefly. Match number 6, Dean Ambrose with Dolph Ziggler for the U.S. Championship. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns appeared briefly with Ambrose, but he went to the ring by himself. Ambrose caught Ziggler with a cool spinebuster early on. Ziggler came back at 6 minutes 45 seconds with a top rope facebuster. Ziggler went for a famouser, but Ambrose avoided it and rolled him up for a 2 count. Ziggler came right back with a famouser and covered Ambrose, who reached up and grabbed the bottom rope. Ambrose came back moments later with his still unnamed finisher for the win. Afterwards, Rollins and Reigns entered the ring to celebrate the win. And that match took 9 minutes 45 seconds. A decent match that the live crowd didn't seem that all engaged in. Mostly forgettable, without any memorable near falls for Ziggler to draw the live crowd in. The U.S. Championship poll was won by Sting over Ricky Steamboat, Sergeant Slaughter, Harley Race, and Bobo Brazil. Sting wins the WWE poll. I don't even want to check my email for the next few days due to the abundance of Sting versus Taker at WrestleMania related questions and comments that are sure to be there. Match number 7, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, the Shield, versus the primetime players for the WWE Tag Team Championship. O'Neal blew his whistle as he and Young were working over Rollins early on. The Shield members isolated Darren Young. He eventually made the hot tag to Titus, who caught Rollins with a shoulder block and then sold like a champ. Titus went for a fallaway slam. It looked like Rollins was supposed to land on his feet, but didn't. But he did get up and right up and caught Titus with a kick. A short time later, Reigns speared Titus and Rollins pinned Titus for the win. And that match took 7 minutes 30 seconds. Another throwaway Raw length match. The players seemed popular with the like of a quarter of the crowd, but it didn't seem like they were gaining any real momentum. Then again, what babyface in WWE is these days? The Don't Try This at Home video aired. Well, they should have done it at the beginning of the pay-per-view. Broadcast team recaps the handicap match. The announcers read the result of another poll. Triple H and Shawn Michaels won over Legion of Doom, Hart Foundation, the Wild Samoans, and the British Bulldogs. I guess some type of tag team poll. Seriously, first Booker, and now this version of DX. Kiss my ass, the poll voters. WWE poll voters. I like DX and all. But the best tag team champions, heck, fellow DX members, the New Age Outlaws, were better tag team champions than HBK and Triple H. Of course, it's a throwaway poll, but there's no point in losing any sleep over it. Video package recapped the Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan drama that also involved Triple H and Big Show. The best WWE champion vote went to Hulk Hogan over Steve Austin, John Cena, CM Punk, and Triple H. TNA wrestlers Hulk Hogan and Sting won polls, so my point about Mickie James not making a poll was off base. It also adds fuel to the fire of speculation that both Hogan and Sting will be WWE bound once their TNA deals expire. Well, soon. As some dirt sheets and some evidence saying TNA is for sale. Okay, match number 8, Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship. Justin Roberts handled the in-ring introductions for the championship match. The crowd was pro-Bryan with the usual chants early on. Orton had the first prolonged streak of offensive control. Bryan started to make a comeback and caught Orton with 2 drop kicks in the corner. Bryan threw kicks at Orton and the crowd responded with the Borgasm yes chant. Bryan performed a top rope Hurrah at 7 minutes 45 seconds in, then followed up with a suicide dive at ringside. Bryan rolled up Orton back inside the ring and caught him with a missile drop kick. Orton fled to ringside again, and Bryan caught him with another suicide dive, then ended up going for a third suicide dive, but Orton caught him with a punch. As he got to the ropes, Orton followed up with the draping DDT off the ring apron and onto the floor at 9 minutes 10 seconds in. Orton struck the Viper's pose and went for the RKO, but Bryan shoved him away. Bryan then drop kicked Orton into referee Scott Armstrong, who tumbled to the floor. Second referee came out. Orton set up for the hanging DDT off the second rope, but Bryan caught him with a Borgasm lock. Orton reached the rope. But is the finish as simple as Hunter saying the second referee's decision doesn't count because no one else could get involved in the match? Just a thought. A trainer tended to Armstrong on the floor as he continued to sell the collision. Meanwhile, Bryan avoided an Orton move on the ropes, then tied Orton in the tree of woe and threw a series of point-inducing kicks, followed by a running drop kick. Moments later, Bryan caught Orton on the ropes and suplexed him, yet hung onto the ropes with his leg. Bryan then climbed on the top rope and caught Orton with a flying headbutt for a 2 count. First referee, Armstrong, checked back into the match and excused the second referee. So much for the theory. Bryan threw a series of kicks and had a kneeling Orton, but Orton caught the big one and caught him with an exploder suplex. Bryan sold shoulder pain. Orton sized him up for the RKO, but Bryan countered with a backslide attempt that Orton slipped out of. Bryan caught Orton with a kick and then it's a running knee to the face and covered him. Referee Armstrong made a fast count and Bryan got the win. So Bryan apparently wins the WWE Championship in 17 minutes 30 seconds. Live crowd popped for the finish, but it's controversial, so let's see what happens on Raw. But it was more subdued than you would expect for a title change. The fans seem to be waiting for the other shoe to drop. Announcers noted that Bryan used the same move to beat Orton that he used to beat John Cena at SummerSlam. But they never mentioned the fast count by Armstrong. I assume the fast count will play into whatever Hunter does on Monday. This was a highly forgettable pay-per-view, and the title change felt very flat. Controversy always does. The crowd came to life with the Borgasm chants. They realized it was going to stick, but it just didn't feel like a real WWE moment. WWE left a lot of money on the table by not making TV viewers believe that Bryan could win. I'll remain baffled by the decision to have Hunter wait until the show started to announce that no one could interfere. Overall, this felt like the most forgettable pay-per-view of the year so far, though it concluded with what should have been a big crowd-pleasing title change. And that ends the results for that pay-per-view. Thanks again. Peace out.